I've always been around guns long enough to know the real treasures aren't always the glass case at your local shop with the bestseller tag hanging off them. Nope. Some of the best 9mm pistols I've ever seen are the ones hiding in plain sight, ignored by the big advertising budgets, skipped over by guys chasing whatever's hot on Instagram. But here's the thing. Those guns, they're the quiet workhorses, the ones that don't need a fan club to prove themselves. I'm talking about pistols that run clean, shoot straight, and stick with you through rain, mud, or whatever bad day you end up in. These aren't your everyday headline grabbers. These are the guns you only find about if someone lets you in on the secret. So today, I'm pulling back the curtain and showing you 3 underrated 9mm pistols you've probably walked past 100 times. But after this, you might start hunting for one. The funny thing about the IWI Masada Slim is it's not the gun you see plastered all over banners or YouTube ads. Most folks in the States barely know it existed until a few competition shooters started bringing it to IDPA matches, and that's when it quietly embarrassed some much more expensive carry guns. I was watching one match where this guy, not sponsored, not wearing some fancy jersey, shows up with a Masada Slim that looked bone stock except for a red dot on top. Half the shooters had Glocks, a few had P365s, and 1 or 2 carried Canics. And yet, every single time the timer went off, the Masada Slim splits were faster, the follow-up shots cleaner. It's not magic, it's just the way this pistol's grip angle and trigger make shooting it feel natural. The recoil impulse is straight back, no weird flip, no fight to get sights back on target, and here's the kicker. The guy said he'd run over 3,000 rounds through it without so much as a hiccup. No polishing feed rams, no aftermarket parts, just regular cleaning. I've seen guns at twice the price choke under that kind of use. The Masada Slim might not be flashy, but it's the kind of pistol you only overlook once, and after that, you start wondering why you didn't have one sooner. The CZ P10S is one of those guns that makes you stop and ask, why the hell isn't anyone carrying this? I remember talking to a competition shooter who carried one off the clock, and that's rare because those guys stick with what they've put thousands of rounds through. His reason was simple. It points exactly like my Shadow 2. That's the magic of CZ's grip geometry. They've been spoiling shooters for decades, and the P10S takes the same DNA and shrinks it into a subcompact you can actually hide under a hoodie without printing. I once saw a plainclothes comp running one during a low-light drill, and the way it stayed flat through rapid fire had a few Glock guys on the line quietly raising eyebrows. This thing doesn't flip, it doesn't fight you. It just tracks back to target like it's glued there. People hear CZ and think heavy, full-size steel guns built for the range. The P10S flips that script. It's compact without feeling like a toy, and the controls feels like they were laid out by someone who actually carries every day. If more shooters put it side by side with the usual polymer carry suspects, there's no doubt it'd make the short list. It's a sleeper, but one you'll never regret carrying. The Beretta APX A1 feels like Beretta finally saying, alright, fine. We'll play in the modern striker-fired sandbox, but we're still gonna do it our way, and they did. I remember when the first APX hit the shelves. People couldn't stop talking about those oversized forward serrations and the modular grip system that felt like you could swap it out like Lego pieces. But the A1 isn't just a re-release with a new name. They smoothed it out, made it slicker, and more importantly, made it easier to run like you mean it. A buddy of mine in law enforcement told me his department put it head-to-head against the Glock 17 and SICK P320 for duty use. Now, it didn't win that contract, but here's the kicker. A few of those guys went out and bought their own APX A1s anyway. And when cops are willing to spend their own money on a gun after a test, that tells you something. The trigger's lighter and crisper than most stock polymer pistols, the slide feels like it's gliding on oiled glass, and Beretta somehow made it optics ready without chopping up the slide in a way that looks like an afterthought. It's solid, reliable, and has its own character, something rare in today's sea of striker-fired sameness. This one's a sleeper that deserves more attention. Tisas is known for affordable 1911s, but their PX9 Gen 3 is a surprisingly good striker-fired pistol. It's a budget-friendly alternative to Glocks and SIGs, but without the brand recognition. For a reliable, low-cost 9mm, it's a great option, but most buyers prefer established names. The Tisas PX9 Gen 3 Tactical is a semi-automatic pistol that, despite its impressive features and capabilities, remains a relatively lesser-known firearm in the market. Several factors contribute to its limited popularity, including the dominance of well-established brands such as Glock, 6 Hour, and Smith & Wesson, which have built strong reputations for quality and reliability over the years. Additionally, Tisas, a Turkish firearms manufacturer, may not have the same level of brand recognition or marketing muscle, making it harder for the PX9 Gen 3 Tactical to gain traction in a crowded market. Despite all these challenges, the Tisas PX9 Gen 3 Tactical has garnered positive reviews from firearms enthusiasts and professionals alike. Its reliability, accuracy, and durability are often cited as strong points, making it a reliable choice for those seeking a dependable sidearm. The pistol's affordability is another significant advantage, with prices often under $400, which is competitive with other mid-range pistols on the market. The PX9 Gen 3 Tactical also boasts an array of features that make it an attractive option for various shooters, including its optics readiness, customizable grip, and threaded barrel. The Tisas PX9 Gen 3 Tactical specifications and features make it a valuable addition to any firearms collection. It typically chambers 9x19mm parabellum ammunition and has a magazine capacity of around 15 rounds. Its striker-fired action provides a smooth trigger pull, and the pistol's design incorporates various safety features to prevent accidental discharges. With its reliability, affordability, and features, the Tisas PX9 Gen 3 Tactical is worth considering for those in the market for a reliable and affordable handgun. Shadow Systems builds Glock-compatible pistols with premium upgrades, but they lack Glock's brand recognition. The MR920 Elite is essentially a Gucci Glock 19 with better ergonomics and an optics cut, yet most buyers just stick with the original. You know, when you're already familiar with the original product, you don't find much pleasure playing around with wannabe counterparts. However, there's still something to enjoy shooting the MR920 Elite. It's an elite pistol, as the name implies, and its performance isn't below that of the average Glock 19. For shooters who want a high-end Glock-style pistol without aftermarket tinkering, it's perfect. But Glock's dominance keeps it niche. For those who want to own a Glock without buying an actual Glock, this one's a great option. The Shield EZ was designed for shooters with weaker hand strength, but its easy rack slide and softer recoil makes it ideal for beginners. However, it's often overlooked in favor of more tactical options. The Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Shield EZ M2.0 is a lesser-known pistol, likely due to its niche appeal as a specialized concealed carry firearm. Despite its innovative, easy-to-rack slide and compact design, it may not have received the same level of marketing and exposure as other popular Smith & Wesson models. Additionally, the pistol market is highly competitive, with many well-established brands and models dominating the spotlight. However, the M&P9 Shield EZ M2.0 offers unique benefits, particularly for users with limited strength or dexterity, making it a valuable option for those seeking a reliable and accessible concealed carry solution. For new shooters or those with arthritis, it's one of the best choices available, but it's not as glamorous as other carry guns. Glock's naming conventions can be confusing, but the 47-49 models are no exception. Essentially a hybrid of the Glock 17 and 19, these pistols are excellent but get lost in Glock's overcrowded lineup. The Glock 47 and 49 are relatively new models that, despite their innovative designs, may not be as well known in the firearm market due to limited availability, niche appeal, and competition from established Glock models like the Glock 17 and Glock 19. The market saturation with numerous manufacturers and products also contributes to the challenge of gaining widespread recognition. However, these models offer unique features such as modularity and slimline design, catering to specific needs and preferences, and are likely to find their audience among those who value these characteristics. HK's VP9 SK is the subcompact version of their excellent VP9, but it's often overshadowed by the P30 SK thanks to John Wick and more popular options like the Glock 26. The VP9 SK boasts HK's legendary ergonomics and a fantastic trigger, but its slightly larger size compared to modern micro-compacts limits its appeal. For shooters who prioritize shootability over ultra concealability, it's a great choice, but it's not as trendy as newer Micro 9s. If you're the type that loves to move less with the crowd, you'll find pleasure owning this pistol. It's got everything you'd find in an average gun. A decade ago, Kahr Slim all-metal pistols were a popular choice for concealed carry, but the rise of polymer micro-compacts like the SIG P365 has pushed them into obscurity. The K9, with its steel frame and smooth DAO trigger, is now a relic of an earlier era. Compared to a P365, the K9 is heavier, holds fewer rounds, and has a long trigger pull. However, its steel construction makes recoil more manageable, and its slim profile still conceals well. For shooters who prefer a more traditional metal-framed pistol, the K9 remains a solid option, but in today's market, it's a hard sell. Springfield Armory's Hellcat and XD series get most of the attention, leaving the Echelon, a modular full-size pistol, struggling for recognition. It was designed to compete with the SIG P320, but despite its superior optics mounting system, it hasn't gained the same traction. The Echelon's biggest advantage is its innovative Variable Interface System, or VIS, which allows direct mounting of multiple red dot sights without adapter plates. This is a major upgrade over the P320, which often requires specific mounting solutions. Yet 6 military contracts and massive aftermarket support keep the P320 at the forefront. For shooters who want a modular 9mm with better optics compatibility, the Echelon is a fantastic choice. But unless Springfield ramps up its marketing, it'll remain in SIG's shadow. The CZ75 series has a cult following, but the Czechmate is a specialized beast that even many CZ enthusiasts haven't handled. Designed purely for competitive shooting, this pistol features a compensator, extended magazines, and a hair trigger setup that makes it a speed demon on the range. However, its $3,000 price tag and competition-focused design relegate it to a very small audience. Compared to more mainstream competition guns like the SIG P226 Legion or Beretta 92X Performance, the Czechmate is in a different league. It's built for pure speed with minimal recoil and ultra-fast follow-up shots. However, SIG and Beretta benefit from military and law enforcement adoption, making them more familiar to the average shooter. For practical use, the Czechmate is overkill unless you're a serious competitive shooter. But if you're looking for a factory-built race gun that can dominate in USPSA or IPSC, few pistols can match it. The Turkish-made firearms have been gaining traction in recent years, but brands like SAR USA will struggle to break into the mainstream consciousness. The SAR 9 Compact X is the perfect example of a well-built, feature-rich subcompact that goes unnoticed next to the Glock 43X and SIG P367. The SAR 9 Compact X offers several advantages over its more famous rivals. Its trigger is notably better than a stock Glock's, it comes with interchangeable backstraps, and it's also optics ready that usually come at a premium. Yet because SAR lacks Glock's reputation for indestructibility and aftermarket support, most buyers overlook it. In practical terms, the SAR 9 Compact X is an excellent budget-friendly concealed carry option. It's slightly larger than a micro compact, making it more shootable for those with bigger hands, and it delivers solid performance at a fraction of the cost of a SIG or Glock. If SAR USA had the same marketing muscle as its competitors, this pistol would likely be far more popular. Wilson Combat is a name synonymous with high-end 1911s, which is precisely why their SFX9 often goes unnoticed. This pistol is a departure from their traditional single-stack 1911s, offering a slim, aluminum-framed striker-fire design that competes with luxury pistols like the Staccato P. Yet despite its superb craftsmanship, the SFX9 remains a rarity outside of elite shooting circles. One reason for its obscurity is its price. At over $2,500, it sits in a category dominated by custom 2011s and European boutique guns. While the Staccato P has gained fame through military contracts and competition shooters, the SFX9 lacks that same level of exposure. However, in practical terms, the SFX9 is arguably more versatile. It's lighter and more concealable than most 2011s, yet it retains the exceptional trigger and accuracy Wilson Combat is known for. For shooters who want a high-end striker-fired pistol with 1911-like ergonomics, the SFX9 is a dream. But unless you frequent high-tier gun stores or custom shops, you might never even see one in person. So there you have it. 3 pistols that don't need hype, don't need a shiny boot at some expo, and sure as hell don't need my approval to prove themselves. They've done it in the hands of people who actually depend on them. If you've run any of these, or you've got a pistol you think could knock one off the list, I want to hear it in the comments down below. I'm Steve, and I'll see you in the next one.